Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Tavi, and Tavi actually reached out to me back in 2022 with an idea that he had, and I'll let you talk about that in just a moment. But we had a correspondence, and then you had life events happen, and then you got back to me a couple of months ago. And I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you, Tavi, and your work, and have you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah, my name's Tavi. I'm a artist, music producer, a content creator, and I've been in this space of old world since I guess early days of the pandemic, maybe 2020 or so, and found videos on Tartaria and stuff. And some of the early videos I found Mind Unveiled, but then I found your work, Michelle, and I really resonated with it because once I started getting into the ideas of like a lost civilization, I started thinking about golf courses and I searched a golf course video and your video popped up. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense because I've been golfing numerous times and it was always like, well, it's just a golf course. But once you start to get into the information, it's like, oh, well, could it be something more? And a lot of that made sense. And really, what my main passion and vision now is I teach metaphysics of music or the metaphysics of creativity, how to really get out of your head and get into that flow state to bring in the information that you were born to basically do. And what I found is like a lot of people deal with different overthinking and sometimes the mind gets in the way, but I've developed many things to get into the heart and really let all that flow. And I feel like that's how I came across the information. That's how I came across your work as well, Michelle. And so I made a animation. I used to do clay animation as my first medium when I was younger, and I had always felt like I wanted to get back into it. And getting into the old world stuff gave me ideas to do an animation based on the old world, stop motion, claymation, also with toys. I made this animation called Golf with Thoth and included your video in there at the end as a way to kind of bridge a lot of this information because as we discussed, this information can be triggering. This information can be like it's easy for people to just reject it right away. I think what we're aiming to do is really help people open their mind, like just be aware and be open to the possibilities, be open to this is a possible reality. You don't have to fully accept it, but just open your mind. And I really felt called to do an animation to kind of smoothen that gap because I'm sure a lot of us have experienced getting into this information and then wanting to tell everyone about it and then getting like a lot of like negativity back. So it's like, how do we smoothly and in a fun way, in a fun and a light way, express this information? So that's where my intention is with making animation golf with Thoth and making animations towards the old world. How do we do it in a fun and exploring way? Because I realized looking back when I was younger, a lot of information I think was given to us that way. Like I spoke earlier about Sega Dreamcast and the game Echo the Dolphin, the game Sonic Adventure.
I'm trying to pull together my grand thesis, and the evidence is everywhere. I feel like I'm compelled to provide as much supporting evidence as I possibly can. I think this place was destroyed recently through the
Wow,
Earth's
wow.
grid system. Atlantis sank within the last couple hundred years and not thousands of years ago. That the Earth's grid system was attacked and destroyed. And I came to this probably in the back of my mind somewhere because I've been doing this ley line research for a long time. Because I've been tracking ley lines, I encounter deserts and swamps and dunes and railroads going through swamps and digging out cities like Gary, Indiana out of the sand dunes. We built
Wow.
this in 2 years. It was beautiful
Yeah.
architecture. No, it's right next to Indiana Dunes Park, right next to sand dunes. And it's like, and you're saying that you built this like everything else? And so the
Wow.
evidence is there, but it's not in our minds because we have been lied to about everything and it's not in our history. And we just accept
Hmm.
what we're told, or we have up until
Hmm.
recently. And so I'm engaged in one of those activities now where I'm just like bringing in all this stuff as I'm going along this ley line, actually from the Quetzalcoatl Pyramid in Teotihuacan in Mexico to the Great
Okay.
Pyramid of Giza. And so I've done the Mexico leg of the alignment, and I'm working my way through the southeastern United States. And then my
Okay.
next one will be entering Europe and then going to Egypt.
Okay. The connection with the grid to all these pyramids.
Everything is laid out geometrically, as above, so below. It was just this highly advanced, beautiful civilization, in my opinion.
Okay.
And very dark beings saw an opportunity, came in, and they destroyed the grid. When they destroyed the grid, they destroyed the surface of the earth. They knew what they were doing. They knew where they were going. And so our
Hmm.
history is about them. coming in and harvesting all the resources. And what I'm seeing is that finding the evidence that they reverse engineered the grid to become an energy harvesting system
Ah, okay.
that they've been
And
harvesting the heck out of for minerals and all the elements that when this grid was composed of, but they also have been using it to siphon our
okay.
energy.
This ties into two things I grew up on Sega Dreamcast, the video game system, and
Hmm.
there's two games that I grew up on that really resonated with me, Echo the Dolphin and then Sonic Adventure. And I was just playing Sonic with my son, I don't know, a few weeks ago, where the whole game is about all these emeralds, all these different emeralds that hold some energy system through the earth. And then it's harvested out by some type of creature or entity, and you have to go and get these back. But the crystals have either positive or negative charge, and yeah, and you have to gather them back. And and then also Echo the Dolphin is about like the Earth having a literal grid and then parasites from the outside coming in and breaking that and the crystal breaking apart. A lot of these games have hidden things within the stories to help open up that inner explorer or that inner open thinker. So that's my intention, and that was my guidance for Golf with Thoth. So grateful to be here and doing it with you.
Well, thank you. And I'm honored to have been part of that project. We talked a couple of weeks ago on Zoom, just by way of introducing ourselves to each other. And I had sent Taavi an updated audio for the video because it was one of my very first attempts, one of the very first videos I ever made. And I was a little self-conscious about the audio quality on it. And when Tavi got back to me a couple of months ago, he said, I didn't use it. And you're talking about being an artist and you mentioned something about wanting to capture that first effort. If you could talk
Sure,
about that
sure.
for us.
Definitely. That's one of my processes that I teach my students and that I live by and that I've learned from being an artist for many, many years is like the first take is the best take. Like learning to trust your first take and learning to keep it gutter, what I call like keep it raw, keep it authentic, keep it pure. Like you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So even if it's not perfect, it's like the energy that's captured in that moment, the alignment that's happening with where you are, with where the stars are, with where everything is, it's already perfect. It's like exactly has the information, even if it's not perfect on the outside, it has that perfect information because you're taking that courageous step to translate this information that you're getting intuitively. And so it's more than just words that are expressed. And that's why I wanted to keep the original audio, even though it wasn't perfect quality. The quality is not the priority. The priority is the energy. The priority is like when you're called taking those steps and using that. And I've experienced this time and time again from producing songs for artists or producing songs for myself, where the first take, maybe it's not done with the best mic, maybe it's not done with the best quality mixing, but over the years, you can take the first take and listen to it, or you can take like a redone take. And always what feels more potent, what feels more impactful and connecting is the first take, like time every single time, literally. So now I live by that. Like first take is the best take. And I think Miles Davis had a quote like that. And he's one of my favorite artists and one of the most legendary jazz musicians. So I think that's an important mantra to live by, keep it gutter, really trusting the first take and trusting what it is you're doing, even if it's not perfect. Because perfection is really just your ego. Perfectionism is just like, I want to look better, right? And it's good to want to do it good. You want to always aim to do it the best, but the proper priority in this sense is keeping the potency of the energy. My mini series on social media is called How to Make a Banger, and I have a course called How to Make a Banger. And how to make a banger, in rap music is that's the type of music I produce is like something that like really hits and it lasts forever. It's like a classic work of art, like a classic record. And I've always been obsessed with like how do we get to that place every single time of pure authenticity and connection? Because I feel like, as we're all artists, it's like how can we express ourselves in the most potent way, trusting ourselves, trusting the message that's coming through, and sharing it and repeating that process instead of focusing on like, oh, this has to be perfect, this has to be perfect. You want to do it good, right? But you want to do it most important is authenticity and that essential energy. So that's what I've been obsessed with for like 20 years, like 18, 20 years. Like how do we get to that point every time? Like why does Picasso sometimes make a really good work? Why does he not? Why does Michael Jackson make Thriller why can't he make another thriller? Like, how do we get to that point where like we can make an impactful piece of art every single time? Because I feel art is so important and doing things in an artistic way. Artistic way is just like doing it masterfully, beautiful way, like bringing out the beauty inherent in the moment. Yeah, like capturing that essential energy. So I really like that first take that you did with Golf with Thoth. And it really shows your courage to take that step and do it, even though everything wasn't exactly how you wanted it. That was my thought process with that.
And I really appreciate your perspective, Tavi, because I had absolutely no experience in making videos or blogging. I got the call and I'm like, holy cow, how am I going to get this information out there so people can see what I'm seeing? And from the moment I got to the Sedona area, and I've lived at that time, I was living in Cottonwood, Sedona, the village of Oak Creek, and it's all kind of around the same area. Things started to happen that aligned me with being able to move forward on this path with the information that I had and, showed me how I could do it. And I'm completely self-taught. The writing comes pretty easily, and that's just the flow that works best for me, how I do it. And I was just going to make one video to explain my work, and somebody subscribed to my channel, and I'm like, okay, well, now I just got to learn how to make videos. And I had actually hired somebody to help me make my first video, and things just didn't work out. Things going on in his life. And this is not a hobby. This is something that I have to do. And I felt that at the time. I got the information. I've got to get this back out. And this was pretty raw. I'm a social worker by degree. I mean, I have no experience in this kind of thing. And I got started in June of 2018, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's really the only thing that's been constant in my life since then. Every year's been different. But I feel like when you have a mission, the universe conspires to help you. Go figure. I mean, if you told me 10 years ago that
You
I
got
would
to
be
do
doing
it.
this, I'd be like, you've got to be out of your mind. It was not planned, but it was intuitive, as this
Hmm.
whole process has been for me. So at the very beginning of A Word About Golf Courses, which is the video that inspired you to do Golf with Thoth, I was explaining how I became intuitively aware that golf courses were a cover-up of mound sites. And that pretty much describes my whole process doing this is I'll see something and it'll connect me with something else and I'll have an aha. And so it's a really good example of what you were saying about the first effort.
And you were in that flow. You're in that flow state and you went with it. Like you get the information and it's like you understood the priority, which was getting the information out. Like it just needs to come out. What could happen, what would happen, what I've seen happen with many artists is like they'll get the information, but then they'll stop because they'll be like, I don't have the equipment, I don't have the thing. But you understood, like, doesn't matter, I need to do it. It's like you just do it.
And it was a $7 Walmart mic.
That's
I mean,
great. That's
it was
perfect.
it
That's
was just like,
perfect.
I
That's
gotta
great.
do
You keep the
this.
gutter.
I realized when I accepted, I'm going to call it an assignment or a mission, that I needed to get it out every way that I could. And so not only was it learning how to make the videos, but also learning how to speak more comfortably in interviews and things like that. That was not easy for me. It's still not. I'm a lot better at it with practice over
Yeah.
the years. But what you hear is me stumbling over words and everything. It's like, I'm a great writer. I'm a fast typist. I can type like 75, 80 words per minute. And when I'm writing, I'm just speaking. I'd rather be poked in the nose with a sharp stick. I mean, that's really how I feel about it.
But also like what you're doing there is like you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, which is also a really important thing to do. And a lot of times our mission, our, guidance will be like, tell us to do something that makes us step out of our comfort zone. And that will make you grow. And then in that, it's like, if you didn't do videos, I wouldn't have connected with you because I don't read stuff. Like I read stuff, but my attention span is I can't sit and read a huge thing. I'll watch videos, so like that was like the wisdom, the intuitive wisdom of like this is how it's going to get to many people and going through that.
Definitely a part of that process of us finding each other and connecting. And then that video of mine, that one video of mine is what inspired you to do Golf with Thoth, in which
Mhm.
you've incorporated an animated sequence with Thoth and his friends.
Yeah.
It just really added a really nice creative touch to it. If you want to talk a little bit about your thought processes and the animation that is in the video that we're going to show here in a little bit.
Oh, sure, yeah. So before I got into a lot of the old world stuff, I was put on to Thoth and into like ancient Egyptian stuff. I was always intrigued and interested in that. I would always watch shows around that type of information when I was younger. Whenever I went to stores or museums, I would get little trinkets and collect little things. And I had these little toys with always the intention, like, I want to get back to animation. Like animation was one of my first mediums. But I also talk about like how resistance comes up also through your mind of like when you're doing something important, resistance will come. And there was so much resistance to even doing it. One, because animation takes a long time, but also a lot of us have been programmed and taught like our desires are not important and our mission is not important. So we kind of always put that message from spirit on the back burner. And it's like we always make it second priority. We always have something in our head. This was my experience, and many other people's like we have to like, oh, how is that going to make money? How is that going to do that? And then we just put it on the back burner instead of being like, this is what I'm excited about. This is what my intuition is telling me to do. Let me go and do it. Like that's what children have. Children, they want to do something and they do it just for the joy of doing it. So a lot of this process of doing golf with Thoth is like defeating my own resistance and understanding like what brings me joy is enough. And I don't need to be worried about what's going to come next. It's like going step by step. Spirit will give you things, and then it's like, but it won't give you the whole path. It's like, this is what you should do now. And if you're like, well, how is this? How is that? How is that? That's not going to align. So it's like this whole process of doing this was a whole battle between that. And it took me a really long time to do that animation. That's why all the resistance was it even took so long to even get back to you from 2022 to now 2025. And I made that animation in 2021, a year before I even gave it to you. But I would kind of force myself in these moments to like go outside or do pieces of the animation. And I think there's like four maybe different scenes. There's a scene outside. There's a scene at a beach on Rockaway Beach here in New York. There's one in Riverbank State Park in New York on the Hudson River. And then there's a scene in my apartment with some old books. And I have a bunch of old books that I collect. And yeah, like the idea behind the video was like I had collected all these toys and these items, and I had Thoth. I was always interested in Thoth. I was like, oh, that's cool. Saw your video. I had also bought, I don't remember, but I bought a little golf caddy toy at CVS or something. And I had all these items collected, these ancient Egyptian items and stuff. And then I would always collect rocks and stuff when I went to the beach. So I had all these little trinkets with energy in them. So I was like, let me just make an animation. And I had to break through my own resistance of like what this was even going to be about. What was the storyline? I didn't even plan a storyline. It was just like, all right, I'm going to the beach. Let me animate a scene over here. And I had to push through the resistance. And then it's like, all right, it's a nice day out. Let me go animate something in the grass. Let me go do it in my apartment. And there were many times when I even brought all the toys places and I couldn't even bring myself to animate it. Because number one, because stop motion is a tedious process. You need to take a picture, move it, take a picture, move it. It does take a while. But I was finally able to do that and then combine it with your video. And then I combined it also with another video that I found on someone who follows me on my Tartaria tour Instagram in the early days, yoga golf coach. So then he was golfing and he was interested in old world stuff. So I put his in between as like a commercial kind of. Thought it would be cool. And then I put yours and have Thoth like watching this information. Oh yeah, and I had like a Star Fort little toy that I got when I went to St. Augustine in 2021. Yeah, the whole process was really intuitive and it was really about fighting my own resistance. And I've always had in my own thoughts, like, I need to make more episodes. And I always intended to make more episodes. And even when I was in Mexico, I wanted to make an episode, but the resistance was so strong. The own resistance of my own negativity was so strong that I couldn't bring myself to make another episode yet. But I feel like the energy is opening because we're doing this and this is about to be released. So now I'll be able to go and continue to make more episodes, which is what my intention is. I do want to keep making episodes and I do want to get back to doing stop motion animation because it's all again then the process of like teaching people also the your desires are important and don't overthink how everything's going to happen because just like you said, like I'm sure you got that guidance, go to Sedona, but you didn't know all this stuff was going to happen and all these connections happen as you trust. I want to allow Golf with Thoth to allow me and anyone who watches it and anyone who watches this video to allow themselves permission to do what really gives them joy. Because at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. That's the gift that we're that all of us have gifts that we need to share. All of us have information, pieces of the puzzle, vibrational information that's going to go out to others and kind of wake them up and wake them up to your own belief in yourself and your own what you like to do is important. It's important to live a joyful and a happy life in your flow. Live your life like a work of art. And I think that's the biggest rebellion we can do against all the negativity that's going on in the world. Like really live in spirit, really live in that intuitive flow, in that intuitive guidance. And yeah, that's my whole process and intention with this whole golf with Thoth, like awaken people that their desires are important and open people's mind and have fun with it too, and bring joy and light energy to this space and to the world that we're in. Because in each of us awakening our own light and shining our own, it like doubles and triples and really compounds. And that's how we're able to make the shift in consciousness. I feel like we each have to realize like our lives are important and our desires and our dreams are not a coincidence. They're not, don't belittle them. Don't believe incorrect information that we've been given through the system and only believe like we all have this infinite light and so does everyone else. So it's like, let's move along on that path. Yeah, that was my process with golf with Thoth.
And it's interesting that intuition's a funny thing, and going with the
Mm,
flow and living with the flow, because I know for myself and the way my intuitive processes work is that I may have a general idea of where I'm going and where I want to go, but the real breakthroughs come when I'm in the middle of something, be research in my case, which
mm,
is where this happens the most often. I'll be following my hunches and my, hey, look at this. And all of a sudden, I'll see something differently because it'll be like a flash, is really the only way I can describe it. An aha. And then a knowing
okay.
is the best way I can describe it. And
Okay.
then I can build on that moment and provide information to support it and whatever else needs to be done. It's not linear thinking. You can almost call
Yeah.
it like right brain thinking or something, which is artistic. If you've studied the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere and then how they can work together, but they have specialized tasks. My thinking has been intuitive throughout my life, but I have other abilities like information organization and things like that that help me to be able to communicate it. So I'm not all
Mm,
one way. I'm not all right
yeah.
brained. And the people that are most creative with artistic things, this is an understanding of mine from years ago, a way of
Mm,
conceptualizing it. The people
yeah.
that naturally can paint and draw, they're using
Yeah.
their right brain. And sometimes people that are so far into their right brain, they may experience special challenges in navigating a left brain world. The show me kind of thing, prove it to me. If I can't see it and taste it and smell it or hear it, I'm not going to believe it.
Mm,
That kind of thinking is encouraged, and really creative outside of the box thinking is not. There's definitely
mm,
reasons for that. They don't want us to think that way, but it's like using these abilities is how you get to new information and being open to it. You mentioned dreams. I mean, a lot of advances, at least in our historical narrative, have come through dreams. The needle in the sewing machine being,
ah,
where the eye is, and major breakthroughs have come from these scientists who had a dream
mm,
and had their aha moment and they were able to piece it together. I was interested in the study of creativity when I was in college, and I've had these creative abilities, so I just never did anything with it. So for me, blogging and making videos is how I use that. And I'm still pretty straightforward in how I make videos. I mean, I just make a script for my blog posts and I put the pictures in that go with it, but it still works. And that's my comfort level. I never learned how to make videos until I started doing this, and I'm self-taught. I don't do the bells and whistles and fancy things. I just want to get the
and
information out there.
I think that works perfectly because those who are meant to see it and those who resonate will come to it. Being in that, yeah, that flow state and like organizing both.
Challenge is putting words to things that is hard to put words to. And I struggle with that a lot. My energy goes into the effort of doing the research and finding the pictures that match exactly the way I want it to and things like that. That's my creativity in doing this. And also making it as clear and understandable and compelling as I possibly can. I know for
Yeah.
myself, I like to make it concise as possible. I don't have a long attention span. If I don't understand something or it doesn't grab me, I'm not going to necessarily watch it. If
Yeah.
it doesn't like grab me, or if I don't understand what's being said, I'm out. And when I first started doing this, my videos were shorter. That's changed. I've got a lot of research over the years that I add to things and it just goes deeper. But I'm a short video kind of person. I mean, that's about my attention span. So I know everybody, it's like they're getting longer, but the research does deepen and more is coming out and puzzle pieces are coming together more for me. And I feel it's important to share those things.
Exactly. And what I was going to share when you said you're doing research and then you have the aha moments, for me, it's like, since my main medium is producing and making beats, like when I'm like, I feel like that's my connection to my intuition. That's why I need to like make beats every day. Like we need to do what we're called to do because it continues to compound and add on itself. Like when I make music, when I make beats every day and it's authentic and it's my own voice and it's my own sounds and it's what I'm guided to do, then it's like I'll use those beats and I'll listen to them while I'm walking down the street the same day and I'll get visions and information. Like my music and my beats give me access to my intuition. It's like a radar. It gives me a deeper intuition. So like, oh, okay, this. Oh, okay, this can connect. And it's even gone to the point where it's like I feel like many times I'll be making stuff and a few months ago, even like last year, I was listening to some beats that I were making late at night and I was like, music is medicine, frequency is medicine. That's what it was used back in like with tribes, with the medicine men and stuff. It was like the sound of the drum, the sound of the frequencies. And we know that, but I feel like it's getting more advanced. And my purpose also is within putting that together somehow with a room full of speakers or images, things like that, stuff that is not here yet. Maybe it was here in the past, but like re-bringing this information forth. I feel like when we're in the flow and we're devoted to our mission, we get granted access to other information and we're like, all right, this is what I need to do. And this is the stuff that's coming. Keep going so you can build your strength and your foundation so you can hold all this energy. Yeah. And a lot of stuff comes to mind that can't be put into words, but I feel like I get these flashes and then it's like I spend lots of time. Now I'm making diagrams and visual for them because I'm a visual learner and I know a lot of people are as well that can help people understand the energy flow of creativity and what to do and what to not do and like getting visions of like the old cathedrals with the sacred geometry and the music and the sounds and feeling it intuitively but not understanding how all of it's working and then you spend the next year or years kind of transcribing or decoding that and it's like yeah, like it's exciting when you're following your flow because you're given this information and you're really living life. So
And I know in your case, you balance it with a young child and your
yeah.
family,
Hmm.
your wife and your child. And that happened in the in between too.
Yeah.
And a move to Mexico from New York. And I guess you're back in New York now.
Hmm. Yep.
So, it wasn't all resistance. It's like you've got other commitments and obligations and experiences happening at the same time. And it's a real juggling act because what you're describing and what I'm describing takes time.
That's a good point.
And also the discipline. Like in my case, I'm in a position where I can do this pretty much as I need to. My
Mm.
limiting factors are eye strain. My best time to do work is first thing in the morning up until around
Mm.
lunchtime. And then after that,
Okay.
I have to do other things because my brain just doesn't want to work and my eyes are tired. Trying to find the time to do what you're talking about in a busy day with other things going on and I'm by myself. So it's a balance and it's just okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up an hour earlier. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I'm going to get up an hour earlier and do this every day or however, because again, I've been able to structure my life to where I can do this now. And if I had outside obligations and other people, it would be very difficult for me too, extremely difficult.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It wasn't all resistance. It's like trusting the timing of the things and what was priority when, obviously my son being born and working on the foundation. My first priority is my educational program for people to harness their creativity. Like that's my main mission. And I do enjoy doing the old world stuff, but it is secondary too. My main mission is helping people go in that flow state. So that's kind of what I double down in. That's a good point. And I had to put my full attention on that and family to prepare this. And now that's in more of a stable place, and I'm in more of a stable place where I can dip into this and I have a clearer understanding of how it's connected. Whereas before it was like this is just a separate thing. And I was always wondering, oh shit, am I wasting time? Oh, am I doing this? But now it's like it is connected, but I understand the hierarchy and the priorities and what I need to do.
And having the experiences that you'll need for later. I mean, I
Hmm.
know I've experienced things years ago that are coming into play and understanding now, bits of information or insights. I do believe everything happens for a reason. We're here
And me
having
too.
this experience in life, and everything has meaning and
I
everything's
agree.
connected. And so getting back to computers and the internet and our ability to connect together and reach over time and space and place and have these talks, and a bunch of us doing this that have found each other, it's all contributing to the bigger picture. And I wholeheartedly concur with what you said, is everybody has a piece of the puzzle.
Hmm.
Everybody has gifts, and there's more and more ways that are opening up for us to be able to share those. I'm going to share the screen right now, Tavi. I want to show your YouTube channel first. You started your channel, what, back in 2020, making videos?
Yeah, this channel. Yeah.
And you pretty much started out as a boots on the ground kind of channel.
Yeah, this is more boots on the ground because I found a lot of old world stuff and then I was like, all right, well, I'm in New York. It's all around me. I have another channel that I've been working on since 2015, 2014, but that's mainly my music. But this is specifically old world stuff, and this is what Golf with Thoth will be released on.
What's the name of your other channel?
Tavi Hapala, Taahaa, two A's, yeah, Pala. Yeah, so more of my metaphysical instruction and creativity is this channel, music video, stuff like that. My goal is to do a video every week for this channel, and I have beats and music videos. I have my early Tartaria videos on here, but I decided to make a separate channel for it.
So that's Tavi. And
Thank
I
you.
think I'm going to go ahead and show Golf with Thoth here.
Was coming. How you doing there, though? How was your voyage?
Mud Flood TV. Mud Flood TV.
My name is Michelle Gibson. This video is based on a post from my blog on piercingtheveilofillusion.com, a word about golf courses. I believe that golf courses are specifically related to the cover-up of mound sites. Why would I believe that? When I received this map of the Washita Empire, I started looking up information on different places shown on the map. I noticed Jekyll Island had a yellow triangle next to it, indicating the presence of an earthen pyramid and/or mound complex. When I looked up Jekyll Island mounds to see them, This is what came up. Jekyll Island has an interesting history of interest in it by the very wealthy. Even now it is owned by the state of Georgia and run by a self-sustaining, self-governing body. It became a retreat for the very wealthy in the late 1800s and early 1900s and was the place where the Federal Reserve System was created in 1910. I believe mound sites like this have a very special significance in the ancient advanced civilization. Considering that golf is a sport associated with the wealthy and powerful, it would stand to reason that they would rework these sites for their own purposes, like carving out sand traps from the mounds of the ancient ones. I believe they do this to continue to show dominance over the ancient civilization. I don't know if all know the truth, but some certainly do, especially in the upper degrees of Freemasonry and other elite groups. And members of these groups are in government and throughout society. They know the truth. And they do everything they can to demean the people they secretly worship. It sounds crazy, but I believe this is true. They have stolen the legacy of human beings of higher consciousness and pretend to be them while marginalizing and brutalizing them in the worst way. If you are new to this information and have a hard time with this belief, here's another powerful example. The Newark Earthworks in Ohio. Newark is a very special place on the planet. As you can see here, it is located on a golden ratio longitude on the planet along with other sites like Poverty Point in Louisiana and Chavin and Pachacamac in Peru and Tiwanaku in Bolivia. You have the same precise geometry and archaeoastronomy in earthworks like these in North America that you have in other countries. As a matter of fact, Carl Monk says in his video on the code that there is a correlation between Stonehenge and Newark. So building a golf course on the Newark earthworks is like building a golf course on Stonehenge. But they did it. These earthworks come into play on 11 of the holes. Since the historical narrative that we are taught leaves out the true history, known only to a few, no one knows about the abuses like these that have occurred, and still occur. And I will definitely be talking more about that in future videos.
Mudflood TV. Mudflood TV. Mudflood TV.
I love it.
Thank you. I love your part two. I'm glad it's getting released. Feel really happy. One of my important philosophies is like release. When you create something, you got to release it because then you have the energy, then new information can come in. Grateful to be working on this with you and looking forward to make some new ones.
Anything on your thought processes about the animation itself?
Like what I think about it or how I did it.
How you did it?
I just used my iPhone. I use this app called Stop Motion, and it's like take a picture of each individual frame. I put it in a tripod. I set up a place to film, and then move the toy, take a picture, move the toy, take a picture, move the toy, take a picture. Then I gathered all the sound effects myself. Most of the sound effects, I have a high quality audio recorder that I did for different things. I found some sound effects online, but most of them I made. Yeah, all the items are important to me. The golf thing, the star fort from St. Augustine, the tree was a gift from my mom. The stick, the little wooden guy. I used to do an animation called Stickman, which was based on that character. Yeah, and then edited, put it together, and then completed it.
So the items that you used had really personal meaning for you and a lot of your energy to begin with. It sounds
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, and
the book
and
that
then
you
yeah,
were paging through.
yeah, the book was about ancient Egypt. All these books I've had for a while, and what I realized too, yeah, at the beach was important as an important beach me and my wife would go to quite often. And just the energy of like I really enjoy getting natural light. Like that's why a lot of it was done outside, getting the actual sun and then having to have a time limit to do it quickly. And I feel like a lot of what I want to convey with this project, yeah, each item has significance. It's taken me years to kind of select each item from different places. The rock was from the beach. Sometimes there's shells, different items, and doing it in places that are significant for me with that energy in it. So the subconscious underlying energy of it can be felt. So how do you feel when you first watched it and when you watched it? What have you, curious to see what information you've gained from it or feelings?
You and I had some of the same influences on our path. We've talked about
Yeah.
Drunvalo Melchizedek. I learned about the Flower of Life, sacred geometry through his work. I guess that was around the early 2000s. I want to say it was somewhere around 2007, 2008. Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, volumes 1 and 2, and learning about the Merkaba and how to activate it and all the influences that Drunvalo had with Thoth, and it was a marker on my journey, but a very important marker because had I not learned about sacred geometry, I wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing now. I wouldn't have found what I found with the North American star tetrahedron, wouldn't have known what it was. But by the time I found that, I had already learned about sacred geometry from Drunvalo as well as other researchers who were following ley lines and things like that. Hugh Newman comes to mind, and he put together the megalithomania conferences, which was another part of my education. Ley
Wow.
line researchers, they're dowsers. Dowsers brought back a lot of this information because they find
Okay.
the electromagnetic lines that the ley lines are from dowsing. And so I
Okay.
learned a lot about that when I was watching these presentations by these dowsers. And it
And the
was
dowsing is like finding water or oil through like a pendulum, right?
use a pendulum, they use rods, but a lot of this information about ley lines came in through dowsers. Hugh is
Ah,
one, Hamish Miller, Paul, can't think of Paul's last name, he worked with Hamish. Gary Biltcliffe and his partner Carolyn Hoare. They doused the Bolinas line that goes from the Isle of Wight up through Parade Head. So the Isle of Wight, it's like a Cossacks at the base of Britain, and there's 33 nodal points up through the center of Great Britain. And it
wow.
exits at a tip of Scotland called Parade Head. And so they doused this line and they doused the serpents of energy that were crisscrossing at 33 nodal points. And the book is called The Spine of Albion. I had seen a presentation that Gary did for a megalithomania conference first, and then I ended up ordering the book. This is around, I want to say sometime around 2013, 2014 that I ordered the book and read it about their experience dousing the Bolinas line. I learned
Wow.
a lot about these ley lines from there, and then I started doing my own original work when I found this North America star tetrahedron. But by that time, I knew that I could extend the lines out, that the ancients were very precise, and that's why I was prompted to do that. And then I wrote down the places that lined up
Yeah, is this how it all started with the ley lines and then it was like piece by piece?
piece by piece. I had to learn about them first.
What are ley lines exactly?
It's based on sacred geometry and their lines of groomed electromagnetic energy. So there's an energy there, there's a consciousness there. It was the Earth's original energy grid that the free energy system was based on.
Okay,
And
okay.
everything on the Earth, from ancient to modern, was placed in a specific way for a specific reason. And back in ancient times, Neolithic times, you've got the stone circles and things like that. And on up to what we would consider modern architecture was built by the original civilization. And it's the same idea. It's oriented to the cardinal points, specific directions. Every bit of infrastructure had a purpose. This energy grid, this energy generating system, and it was highly sophisticated. I've talked a lot about the concept of the circuit board Earth. Everything was
Okay.
precisely placed for a reason and integrated and worked together. All types of rail infrastructure, railroads, streetcars, subways were part of the system, and cathedrals, bell towers, all buildings, all of the old world buildings that we've become so aware of with our different types of research, everything had a purpose for this free energy generating energy grid system.
And then after you got into that, you learned about the Drunvalo grid
It
and
was
the
before.
tetrahedron?
It
Oh,
was
okay.
before.
Okay.
Drunville came
Okay.
first.
Okay, so
And
you understood that, and then when you saw the ley lines, it was like, oh, these
yeah,
connect, right?
right. Drunville's work planted the seed,
Okay.
and I watched everything he put out on video for years. I had moved back to Fairbanks. It was like I had made a decision not to continue with where my life was going after my husband died. I made some decisions that were not working well for me, especially relationship wise. And so I said, okay, I took control of my life back and I went back to Fairbanks, Alaska, where my husband and I had lived from 94 to 99. And I went back there in 2006. And so I already had an established base there from when I lived there before. And I just reconnected with friends that I had that were the friends that introduced me to Drunvalo's work. And from there, it's like been like upwards like that. Zoom. But it was like I had to make the
Ah,
decision to
okay,
do
yeah.
that, to say, this isn't working for me. I want my life back. And it basically put me back where I was before things took a turn when my husband started to get sick and we moved from
Mm,
Fairbanks and then he died and I went off in another direction and it's like, this is keeping me down in this little teeny tiny space. And so that was what set me back on course and the direction I was actually heading in until my life got sidetracked. Would not have happened had I not done that. There are a lot of things that had they not happened, I wouldn't be doing this work. And that's one of them. Yeah, I mean, then I started from that point forward. When I moved back to Fairbanks in 2006, I started receiving the information that I needed to be able to start to put the puzzle together. And so in one of Drunvalo's videos, and I want to say it's called Birth of a New Humanity, which
okay.
was released around 2010, he said in this video that there was a physical layout to the grid. And at the
Uh,
time, I remember thinking, well, that sounds great, but who built it? And I was also starting to get information like Fingerprints of the Gods. I'm reading that book by Graham Hancock that was an introduction to this missing civilization and other things that I needed to start the intuitive process of putting the puzzle together. I've always been intensely interested in hidden history, even though I wasn't really consciously aware of it. But I liked Unsolved Mysteries when I was growing up, and History Detective, the show on PBS. I liked watching that. It's like I had this other element in my life that was tugging at me because this is stuff that's just not available in mainstream. It really wasn't widely available or didn't become widely available until the internet.
Yeah, I've always had that itch too of like what there's got to be more. What is out there? What is this? Why? Like understanding the workings of everything. And what really connected me with your work too was you were one of the only people in the space, in like the old world space, who was also connected with Drunvalo and kind of the extraterrestrial space. Because I was in that space before I got into the old world stuff. And that was some of my first decisions of like, I'm going to put out my own music. I'm going to release my own stuff. That's how I initially grew my YouTube channel, was like making light language music within my music that was encoded with different intentions for upliftment and stuff, and just like completely following that flow. And that's how I got connected with like dolphins and decided like my producer name would be Dolphin Gang. And like I'm bringing that energy of joy, but also seriousness. And then getting into the old world stuff. What made me also choose your video and how you're well-rounded in this space. You have both aspects, whereas I like a lot of the stuff in the Tartaria old world space, but a lot of it is one-sided and kind of only the buildings. But it's important to integrate everything. It's
Absolutely.
important to integrate everything together. And I feel like what I'm adding to it is like this stuff that you've already built, other people have already built, but now integrating arts and music into it. And I think we're all contributing to the puzzle. So I think whoever's
Yep.
watching this, you feel guided to do something, you got to do it. Move forward and you'll be given the information as you go.
I mean, we're all guided into this different ways. I couldn't do it coming
Yeah.
from another perspective. This has been the result of my whole life. It's been a lifelong
Mm.
process of life experiences and people that I met and books that I read and videos that I watched and the whole thing. And I would not have the motivation to do it like I do, like all the time, if it wasn't coming from my own space, my own experiences, my own guidance and intuition. It's not based on what somebody else is doing, but we're
Yeah.
all contributing to big patches of information that's just missing from
Yeah.
our awareness. And we're all doing our best to put that puzzle back together again, like you're talking about. People in many cases don't trust, like I said earlier, if you can't
Yeah.
prove
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
real, then I'm not buying it. Well, guess what? This information is coming back through intangible places.
Hmm.
Like you were talking earlier, when you weigh, well, where am I going with this? If I'm going to put all this time into making an animated video, what's the payoff? Well, the
Yeah.
payoff is intangible.
Yeah.
We're not doing things for financial reasons or anything other than doing what we're here to do and getting the information out and hopefully helping people awaken to a different way of looking at things and different possibilities. Because really, that's what we're doing. I mean, can I prove it? Well, if you watch all of my videos, you might be able to come up with a lot of proof, but it just kind of has to go. Does it resonate with you or not? And my own perspective, it's coming from a very sincere, heart-centered place. I'm not putting all of this time and effort and energy into something that I don't believe. So again, you have to kind of decide for yourself, is this BS or is this making me think? Is this giving me new information?
The exciting part
Doing.
about it too, though. It's like we're painting these pictures because no one has all the information. So it's like we're putting pieces together and it's we're building on top of the information that is out, and some is discarded and some is kept and more information is revealed. But it's like that process of like, all right, we're on this path, we're on this journey. My favorite movie is Lord of the Rings. I'm reading the book now, but it's like it's that journey, you're on that journey. You have a important mission, you have an important purpose, and you need to be that next function. And we're all kind of, the more that we understand that we need to live in flow, we need to live in that guidance.
I loved Lord of the Rings when I was in high school. I graduated from high school in 1981, so that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And somebody left a comment on a fairly recent video about humanity becoming orcs.
Oh,
And there were some spiritual components to this particular video. I think it was with the conversation I had with Chad on synchronicities and holograms.
hmm.
And I replied back, I said, Sauron did not win in the end. The orcs did not win in the end. And I think we forget that. Battle of good over evil, and evil lost. That's where we are. Evil loses.
Exactly. It will lose. It is losing.
It's losing. It's going to lose.
It may appear to be winning, but it's not, as long as we're continuing to remind ourselves every day of our power and our path.
Do we have the capability of becoming orcs? Obviously,
Yes, we do.
but that's not who we are in our heart, in our soul. We're not that at all. We're beautiful beings. We're beautiful
Yeah.
divine beings. And enough of us remember that you can't force orcness on all of us. We're like, hell no,
Exactly. We're not having this.
we're not going to have that.
Absolutely not. There's that science experiment, like the 100th monkey or something. It's like enough people is able to see something a certain way and it shifts. It's like quantum. It's like and it doesn't have to even be half. It doesn't have to be the whole population or even half. It's just like a certain number have to unite and bring out the good. And then quantum shifts.
Yeah, our consciousness shifts exponentially. That's happening now.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's like the parallel realities. Like there's parallel realities at any moment, and every reality exists. It's like, what are we plugging into and what are we seeing? And like what we're doing right now, dialoguing is important, bringing in that new information, opening up. Like, what reality are we focusing on? Like, they want us to focus on the negativity. We're trapped if we focus on the negativity, we focus on all that darkness. But if we focus on our mission and our purpose and how we can help one person with what we're doing, then we're shifting that consciousness and we're shifting into that reality. It's easy to forget that when we look at everything that's happening, but it's like what we need to remember is like we're the projector and we're kind of deciding what reality we're moving into based on our commitment to our work, even in the face of Sauron and the darkness. Remembering to see there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to make it.
Scary dudes, really
Yeah.
scary dudes. The hero's journey is another part of that. On the
Mhm.
hero's journey, the hero faces some pretty scary situations, but comes out on top at the end. And that's where we are. That's what we're doing. There has got to be a reason for our going through this. And when we get to that place where we're past the two-headed, three-headed monsters, we're at a higher place. It's like in the process of the research journey that I've been on, I mean, there's pretty sickening stuff just under the
Yeah.
surface, just under the veneer of whatever we think is normal. And we can't bury our heads in the sand and pretend like this has never happened. The sicker side of our world, it's not about covering that up and put a band-aid on it and pretend like it never happened. It did happen. It has happened. I mean, the trauma is off the charts that we've experienced individually and collective when you consider the psychological abuse that we've been subjected to in the system that we've been living under. That is not our natural state. It's been overlaid on us. And we're taught that we're at fault, that we're the bad ones, that we're the weak ones, that we've brought it on ourselves. No, it's been given to us. And we don't know any different. The work that I do is certainly not for everybody, and I totally get that. But it's like if I don't keep putting it out there, and this kind of ties back into something you were saying, it's like just the act of doing, acting on impulse brings in more information. And that's been
Yeah.
my experience over the years I've been doing this. Even before I started blogging and making videos, I was just, oh, I need to go take a look at that thing that is rising out of the landscape in Oklahoma City. And I get there and it's a dump. Well, it looks like a flat top pyramid. So what they're doing is they're using half of the flat top pyramid, and there's like 3 situated around Oklahoma City. This was part of my waking up to all of this. Part of it is a waste management landfill, and part of it is being harvested for energy. Well, I would have known that, and I'm starting to wake up and think, what is that?
Yeah.
And I went and looked. Oh, and it's like parks, city parks, state parks, national parks are places where a lot of the ancient civilization is preserved. But even like in Oklahoma City, Will Rogers Park in the center of town, if you go and you look at it, there's a lot of old infrastructure, stonework and things like that. And I found out that there's a frisbee golf course. Right next to the frisbee golf course is a sewer line. So it's like they're putting trash and sewage going through these places. It's like the system
Hmm.
that came in and did this is really hell bent on destroying as much as they can and contaminating it and things like that. But again, had I not gone and looked, and that's true of a lot of the stuff on the journey, is how I even started doing my own blogging and research, was just following the impulse to start looking when I realized what I was seeing in the environment with the earthworks and things like that and the older buildings. And
Hmm.
that was when I was living in Oklahoma City between 2012 and 2016 was when I started getting bad
Okay.
information. And I got drawn below in 2007, 2008, got on my spiritual path, learned about unity consciousness, was following the end of the Mayan calendar in
Hmm.
2012. That woke me up to a lot of things. So that was the end of 2012. And then I moved to Oklahoma in June or July of 2012. So that was happening about that time. And then I started getting this information in about this ancient civilization here. And had I not moved
Oh.
to Oklahoma from Alaska to help my brother with my mom because he had invited her to come live with them, I went down to help them. Had I not done that, and that was not an easy decision, but I did, I would not have started opening up to this other stream of information. So it's like the next revelation was based on a decision point and not easy decisions at all.
No, they're not, but you got to do them. It's like those leaps of faith, like those jumps. Like when I went to Mexico, it was like that. It was like a lot of obstacles. We even didn't get let in the beginning because it was like we told the guards at the security, like, we're going there to do a birth. And they're like, what are you doing? And they kicked us back. But they told us, like, well, just go to a different gate and say you're just coming for vacation. And then we went back. And then 2 days later, we went in a different airline and we got in there. But it was incredible being there because I always felt like I needed to live in a tropical place. And I had a piece of artwork that I made in 2014. I would always draw pyramids intuitively with light language and stuff around them. And we were living literally in an area where there was ancient Mayan ruins and really close to Tulum ruins and stuff like that. And just the energy there was, I felt like it was something I needed to soak in before coming back to New York and then being there for the birth of my son. And I feel like I'm still processing it and I don't have all the information for it, but in time, more information will come out in the cenotes. And I was told you this before, but I was living on a golf course, like literally right in front of my house was a golf course. So I would think about golf with Thoth every day. And I would think about that and be like, what is this? And I would think about your video and we would go for walks on the golf course every night. And there were literally Mayan ruins on the golf course.
It's exciting to be part of the return of this information.
It
Again, at
is.
least for people to think about. I mean, we were so advanced. Humanity was so advanced and much larger. There's
Hmm.
no doubt in my mind we were quite a bit larger than we are today. I mean, even if you look back at the Egyptian temples, they're big. Temples themselves are huge. And the Egyptian statues in front of the entrance are like gigantic. There's a lot we have to work our way through, but everything that everybody does, whatever way, is important. It just takes a willingness and a receptivity to open one's mind and receive new information and consider it. Because one thing I do know for a fact is that we have been lied to horribly. No matter what we put out about
Yeah.
our beliefs, the starting point is we have just been lied to.
And we gotta like question, and I feel like creatively and in creation, what we're doing is a great way to explore that. Blogs and videos that you're doing, and boots on the ground videos, and with animation, now it's like I'm getting ideas for like I could imagine how the old civilizations were and do an animation based on that. Get little cathedrals and things, and you get the information in your head, and then it's like, how do you connect them? And it's exciting because other people are doing different parts of the puzzle. You know, like I have a friend who lives in the Bronx who's getting information, and I'm in Harlem, and then another friend who is in Brooklyn, New Atlantis. He's on Instagram, and he does organite pyramids and stuff, and he's like looking into the information of how to literally make like the free energy and stuff like that. So it's like it's exciting because we all have different pieces we're able to pull, and then different videos have different information, and then we can act on it. And then the important thing is acting on it and doing something and like experimenting. Like we are our own scientist, we are our own person who can figure this stuff out. We are inventing these things. Like we're taking in this information and channeling it. And if we're have a momentum built and we're moving, we continue to receive this information and we continue to be supported because we're doing our path.
And I'm really, really good with what I know, but I'm not expert on other areas. And I can kind of point the ship in that direction and know enough to pull out what I can to try to explain it. But within what I do, it's like I'm completely comfortable with the subject matter that I cover in my research for my videos. But I'm not a physicist, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a musician, not all the other things that, those people are bringing in other pieces of the puzzle.
Exactly. We're all specialists. Like you're a specialist in that, like a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon, or like we're specialists within our different fields, and then we collaborate together to spark new ideas and new information.
And complete respect for that, for everybody's own areas of specialization. And, there's always bridge points or connection points that we can make between those different areas. I can speak knowledgeably from what I know and what the work I'm doing.
We have to rely on each other and understand that we can't exist without others. So it's about this connection and communication that happens. What would you like to see with Golf with Thoth in other episodes?
I would like what you said just a moment ago. If you're getting in streams of information about like the free energy grid and how that all worked together, that to me is, at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about, is this perfectly functioning scientific and musical instrument, because it's musical too. Organs and the cathedral rose windows are like solfeggio frequencies. So I don't know if that helps with ideas, but the world that we're living in, we're like living right on top of this advanced civilization. We work in it, we live in it, we go to church in it, we go to art
Yeah.
museums in it. Go
Mm.
down to Central Park. You probably live close to there. The art
Yeah, I
museums
live right
and how big
by
they are. And when they said
Columbia.
they built
Yeah.
them, like, who are you trying to fool?
Yeah.
And why on earth would they have baseball diamonds in the middle of Central Park? So they said it has
Yeah.
something to do with the Depression, but when you get into the research, and it's like they were circuits. The glaring reality is we're living on top of this energy grid that was originally producing free energy for the benefit of all. And it's been
Okay.
turned into a control matrix and harvesting energy.
Okay.
What they're hiding from us is this original energy grid system that was highly sophisticated and advanced and integrated all over the earth.
There's got to be a way to individually rework it, right? Through frequency or something.
I feel like we're heading in that direction. I mean, there's people that already are working on healing ley lines and grid work and things like that. That's been going on for a while. And that's something Drunvalo talked about too, was healing the grid. But there's been a lot of damage done to it. As light winds, which I believe we're experiencing, that's going to be part of the healing that's going to be necessary with all the trauma that's
Okay.
happened. And all the trauma that's happened through these ley lines is pretty bad.
Hmm.
So we're not going to stay stuck there as we become more aware and conscious of these things and of our own ability as healers, our own co-creative abilities, our own power, which we have that
Hmm.
we don't realize as a collective. Again, individuals may realize our power to effect change just through our thoughts, but it's part of bringing in this new stream of information that is very much needed right now as we navigate through this time of change, to put it as simply
Hmm.
as I possibly can. The old stuff is fading out.
Yeah.
It's still there. We can still see it, experience it. We still may not be able to talk to friends and family about what we know because of the level of mind control and brainwashing that we've been subjected to. But a lot of people are waking up to their purposes, like we've been talking about, and healing this whole situation. We're kind of in the midst of that.
No, for sure. It's like we have our life's work that we're born to do. And then that Japanese artist who did that wave painting, he did 3 other renditions before that, and it took like 10 years between each one, constantly refining it. So I feel like that's also how we need to be aware. We're refining ourselves and our life's work essentially.
And I find that even with what I'm doing now, it's like the right time to do something shows up. I might have information put away in a file, and when I need to use it, it happens, and then it pulls in other things.
Now the right moment for Golf with Thoth is happening, and I think I told you last time I just released a music video that's based on Old World that was made with a great friend of mine, Stephen, who I met through doing this research. I met so many wonderful people through doing this research, and he came to New York in 2021, and we filmed the music video around a lot of the Old World sites, and I made this song, lyrics kind of based loosely around that. And finally just released that. And that was kind of in the works for 7 years. I have 25 different artists on it too. It's like the same song, but it's all chopped up into different features. And there's 30 songs and 25 features on it. And what was interesting too was like it took a lot of work to do it, but I knew I needed to do it. Oh, beautiful cat.
Yeah, he's been over
Right?
there since the first time he's come close
Amazing.
enough for
One of
me
my
to
cats was here.
pick him up.
Nice. And the interesting thing is, as I was compiling this and finishing it, I just released it January 28th. It's called Pull Up to the Crib. It's about envisioning the life that you want to have and using music in a positive way to help as a visualization tool to bring you to where you want to go. And it's about like living in it. Like I literally want to live in an old world space. I'm living in an old world brownstone, but I want to get like a historic big one, like a full one. And this song is to be used to propel into that reality. After I was completing the project, I was like, what would happen if I compiled all the verses, all the different artists' verses all together at the same time? And I was looking at all the verses, and I was seeing the vibrational frequency. Like it's all the same beat, but it's a different voice on each one. And just looking at it, I had the intuitive awareness, like, wow, it's like everyone's beautiful signature, vibrational signature is contributing to this piece and making it a beautiful work. And I just got that like through completing this work and realizing like that's like us, all of our individual mission, all of our voice is like contributing to this harmony, to this song. And one guy a few years ago told me to like put all the videos together, but I just kept that in the back. And when I finished it, I put all the voices together and made it like an ambiance in the background. And the sound of it was just incredible. Like hearing 25 voices, but you don't really hear it clearly, but I made it more ambient within the beat. And it was like something pretty incredible, just like an energy you're feeling and hearing. And I don't think it's been done before, but I feel like it's like all that added up and all those 7 years took me to this point, and I know like this last two songs on this project are the most important ones because it includes everyone's energy together. It comes at the proper time, and it's like we don't understand everything, but when the time comes, it's like we see the broader vision.
And what you just said pretty much summarizes my understanding of the new that's coming in, our understandings,
Ah,
like you just said, the vibrational aspect of the world we live in and ourselves and how we all fit together. And I've understood that for a while, even though I may not have understood how that was going to happen. And maybe I still don't know
mm,
exactly how it's going to happen, but I trust that it's going to happen and is happening, as evidenced by our conversation today and the things that we've talked about. That's a fundamental nature of the world. And we had to, I guess, hit rock bottom or had the experience of hitting rock bottom to be able to come back and reclaim the essence of who we are and what this is about. We had to go through the school of hard knocks for whatever reason and say, okay, this is
exactly.
what evil is capable of doing. We're not going to do this again. You
Exactly.
know,
And like,
we're going to be mature spiritual beings. We are not going to let evil run
yeah,
rampant
like
and
not
have
again,
control everything. No more. Just think
for
about the
sure.
pain of that experience. I'm not going to choose that.
Exactly.
Go choose love and abundance
Exactly.
and love and caring. And that's our true nature. That's who we are.
Exactly. And realizing those negative functions out there have a purpose too. And the purpose is to make us more deadly serious about the work that we're doing and contributing our voice and living our path and stop lying to ourselves and stop living what other people are telling us we need to do and really living our light and really stepping into that, which is difficult.
That's exactly what happened when I went back to Fairbanks in 2006. Other people were trying to tell me who I was and how to live my life. And by that time, I already had my own life experience, I already knew who I
Hmm.
was and where I was capable of going. And then I went back into this little teeny tiny space where I was constricted and being shoved down. And when I made that decision, that's when everything else happened and opened up. Or I could have stayed stuck down in
Exactly.
that little box.
Exactly. And so we got to
Didn't feel
make that
good.
choice. It's like the Matrix, red pill or blue pill. It's like,
Yeah,
are you going to take that jump? Once you take it, you can't turn back. It's like it's the great path. It's like a invigorating exercise. It's like climbing a mountain, traversing the next mountain, and it's very exhilarating. Take that step.
you kind of have to have that mindset to be able to do that to begin with. But the choice is available to all of us. Are we going to wallow in our misery and our pain, or are we going to make the world a better place for ourselves and others?
Exactly.
Never been very good at
Exactly.
wallowing. Yeah, the opportunities
No,
that I've
there's no
had,
point in it.
I didn't stay in that space for very long. It's like, yeah.
It's a waste of time.
It's
So
been great talking to you, Tavi.
you as well, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And if you ever want to do it again sometime, just let me know.
Okay, perfect.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.